1 mile, the destination is on your right.
Got a nice little parking area here. It does not look too particularly crowded. Okay, let's see what there is to see. Okay, I have left the little parking lot and I'm walking to the trailhead, which is this way. Now I'm going to be on the Longleaf Pine Trail Loop, 2.1 mile loop through a bunch of pine trees, and that should make me feel a little better, I think. More like home. So we'll see. Okay, so apparently this starts off on the Beaver Pond Nature Trail and then connects with the Longleaf Pine Trail, which ends up in a 2.1 mile loop. So right now it's blue blazes, and I think it switches to red when we get to the other one. But yeah, this is much more familiar territory to me. Pine trees, not palm trees, not cypress trees. Not that there's anything wrong with that. This is more like home. Except it's flat. You know, I've been walking for 3 whole minutes and I'm not dying yet, so that just ain't right. Okay, so when you see 2 blazes stacked on top of each other like this, there's one here and one here, that indicates there's a turn in the trail. So in this case, we go left. If it was offset that way, we would go right. But that indicates that the trail goes this way. And now we've come to the pink blazes of the Longleaf Pine Trail Loop. We could have continued on the Beaver Loop. That would have been a lot shorter. This trail is very, very well marked. And I bet it's beautiful in the spring. There's a lot of dead trees around. But I bet it's beautiful in the spring. Winter kind of has its own beauty. Aside from being cold really sucks. But even in the winter, there's beauty to find. You just have to look for it. And really, you don't even have to look all that hard. And look right here, Spanish moss. When I was a kid, I always said I'd grow up and live in Savannah one day, because Savannah is so historic and beautiful. Has cobblestone streets and tons of Spanish moss. So I'm not in Savannah. I don't have cobblestone streets, but there sure is plenty of the beautiful Spanish moss. Okay, so I am now at the fork in the trail where it turns into a loop. I can either go that way or this way. And I'm going to go this way first because the other side of the loop, going that way, there's a good stretch of it where it is a road walk on the park access road that I drove in on. And I don't feel like seeing a road just yet. So I'm just going to wander through on this side and get a bit more nature. Okay, so now we're coming up on the part where there's a bit of a road walk. I have just over a mile left in this easy peasy quick loop trail. Okay, here we go. Coming back to the road. So, gonna walk that way for a little bit. And we are almost done. Okay, back on the trail again. Now, of course, I could have just kept walking on the road to where my car was parked instead of coming back on the trail and looping around, but what fun would that? That'd be no fun at all. So here I am, just about done. Okay, and here I am, right back where the trail forks off into the loop. I'm going to be back on the blue trail in a few minutes. Just gotta go that way. That'll take me back out to the road, which will take me back out to my car. Okay, so we are back in the land of the blue blazes. You can see on that tree right there. Very nearly back to my car. Like I said, this was just an easy 2.1 mile loop. And you know, my brain still has a hard time comprehending these flat places where there's no hills, much less a mountain. It's very weird. And it's kind of a bummer because there's no challenge to it. Right, like there's no question of, ooh, am I going to be able to do this? Well, yeah, it's flat. Whereas throw me on the Appalachian Trail or some other trail with mountains and hills and challenging terrain, and it's like, holy crap, I may not be able to do this, or maybe I will. So the hard thing is there's just not a lot of challenge, and there's not really much by way of a sense of accomplishment doing a hike like this. I mean, it's cool and all, it's nice and all. It's definitely better than not hiking at all, but I'm not challenged. I have to find ways to challenge myself because there is no pushing the envelope, testing my limits. It's just a nice, flat little nature walk. So I'm going to have to figure out ways to do that. And yep, here we come to another turn in the trail, and you can see the blazes this time. The top one is offset to the right, so we're going to go right. Whereas the other way, when I came by before, is offset to the left. So there's your Blazes Lesson 101, how to read trail signs. All right, made it back out to the road. Now I'm walking back to my car. That was a nice little easy loop trail. The best part of it was I didn't see a single soul out there. So not only was it ridiculously easy, I'm going the wrong way. My car is this way. Anyway, I have no sense of direction. Anyway, it was very easy, and I was the only one out there, which is awesome. Happy introvert. I also noticed there are actually a couple primitive backwoods type sites here, so I'm definitely going to add this to my list of places to return to. It's only an hour from where I live, and at least it has a couple of primitive sites that It's not a very long hike to get to them. Not even a mile, I don't think. Maybe a mile. But it'll do. It'll do. Now next week I'm going to a national forest that's a couple hours away. And I'm going to do a one-night out and back overnight trip there. That will be interesting. Because where I'm going next week, it's a national forest. And I got my permit and everything for it. But they don't have pre-made campsites. They don't have specific sites. Like on the Appalachian Trail even, they have official campsites set up. This not being the Appalachian Trail, of course, this being real wilderness, it won't have pre-made campsites. It's basically find a spot and plop down wherever, as long as it's a certain number of feet away from the water. And since it'll be in swampland, you better believe I'm going to be away from the water. Have no desire to run into any prehistoric death logs or swamp puppies, especially in the middle of the night. So it will be interesting next weekend. It will be very, very interesting, and I'm excited about it. Because I've always wanted to do, you know, swamp hikes and trips and stuff, and that's a thing I never got around to doing. So at least I had the opportunity to do that, and it will be an interesting experience. So y'all stay tuned. Have a great week. And don't forget, live, love, hike.